time of the week again. Prepare yourself for the surveyors of sauce, the sultans of spaghetti, the whispers in your ears. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the What's Your Spaghetti Policy podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Alex and Jacob.
Hey guys, how's it going? Just wanted to jump in here before the video starts. I'm obviously a little bit under the weather. I got sick, but hey, you know, shit happens. Alex was nice enough. He's such a nice guy. He was like, "Hey, you take the night off. I'm gonna release you from your contractual obligations. You just go get to feeling better." And I was like, "Thanks, buddy." So he's doing a solo episode this week. It's our first video solo episode. We have two other solo episodes, two other times where Alex has had to do a solo episode. First time I got brain AIDS. Second time I got brain AIDS. Third time, it's the same thing. I got the brain AIDS again, man. AKA COVID. Anyways, without further ado, here's the video behind me, and you guys watch it, like and subscribe, and comment below a funny name for the sickness I have. Okay, do it. Thanks, everybody. Until next week.
What's up? It's just me this week because Jacob has decided that he is sick. And so I threw together this episode at the very last minute and I asked for questions. I did one of these. Oh my gosh, I think it's so weird because I'm pretty sure we did a solo episode like on episode 3. And then we did another one. I think he might have been sick or something like that. So I just thought I would answer some questions that were submitted. It's a lot different this time because now there's a video. In the last 2 times there was not a video. So shout out to everyone who in a pinch sent in a ton of questions. So I probably won't answer all of them, but I will do my best. First one is name a random band. HIMSA. There was this band in high school out of like Seattle, and like they disbanded shortly after I graduated. Kind of like a hardcore, maybe like a bit of a metalcore band. They put out 2 like really killer albums. They put out 4, but like 2 of them that I would like listen to all the time on my fucking Zune. I even had the actual CDs too, but it's one of those bands where like very obscure that like you would be rare to find someone who knows who they are, unless it's like somebody who like listens to that specific sort of like genre of music. But yeah, dude, HIMSA, and I keep thinking like with Shadows Fall coming back and like a bunch of these bands that are like, hey man, like there's money to be made. I keep thinking that like maybe they'll put out a new album or something like that. But like I guess you see that sometimes, but you don't really see it as much, or you see it more so in like TV and movies, like with those legacy sequels where it's like, hey, everybody from Beetlejuice got together and made a sequel, and then Fuller House, all that stuff. So you're like, Karate Kid, I guess, is another one. So like, you just don't. I mean, maybe you do. Maybe it's just because of the genre of music that I typically listen to that it's like there's a lot of animosity and like somebody hates somebody and it's just like, no, fuck you, no, bruh. So I don't know. What did you have for dinner, bro? I had Waffle House and it was delicious. But like when you eat Waffle House, there's like an experience that goes along with it. You don't just like go to Waffle House and like you order your hash browns and your waffle and your all-star breakfast or whatever the hell it's called. Like there's a certain flavor of people that typically frequent a Waffle House. Typically later at night. We went at like 5 because we're old. But you overhear conversations and you're just like, okay, like my interest is peaked. The I was like kind of hungry. I got like some scrambled eggs, some toast, waffle, hash browns covered, crispy bacon. I had like a big old ass, and I typically don't eat that much, but I was hungry. But our server was talking to, I guess, who was like someone who was like a regular that came in, and I don't know how the conversation got started because I'm just like, over here just like eating. But like you start to overhear that she was like very sick. I guess she lived in a hotel or she was staying in a hotel. I'm not entirely sure, but she was talking about how she was like just like so sick on Saturday, like woke up vomiting, throwing up, and it's like, oh, this is great, you know. I'm listening to this as I eat, and it's like, what did you have? Did you party too hard? Did you like have a sickness? Like, I mean, I know like when I record this is Wednesday, so it's like, yeah, it's probably past, but like you're handling and you're in direct contact with my food. But this also speaks to a bigger point too, where like, you know, she's like, oh, so sick. And then like, you know, where I'm staying, the toilet was clogged. And I didn't have anything except pots and pans and an ice bucket to like vomit in. And I assume go to the bathroom in. And it's like, oh, that's super gross and super disgusting. And she's like, yeah. And then I had to work a double on Sunday, so I came in for first shift, and I threw up in the parking lot because Kobe said something or something like that, and so instead of making me work first shift, they told me to just go take a nap in my car and work second shift. And if like that's just not just an absolute picture perfect stance of like, you know, actual everyday America and like what it's like. You're so sick that you can't work first shift. So like just sleep in your car and then we'll see if you can come to work for second shift. Not go home and like maybe she couldn't afford it, maybe it's like she just like had to work. Which again speaks to a greater point. And then like the lady she was talking to was like asking about grits. I am not a grits guy. In fact, I've never had grits. So like I don't think I'm not a grits guy, but like I don't want it. It's a texture thing. It looks very weird to me. And I always have this picture. I know I've talked about it on the podcast, but I always have this picture of like what grits are supposed to be or like what they are versus like what my brain thinks they are. I think like grits is like a bowl full of gristle, like that weird like little piece in meat. And I'm just like it's like I can't get over that hump, even though I know that's not what it is. Um, but she was asking about their grits and like were they thick and chunky or runny, and I'm just like sitting there over looking, and then Christina starts like we're just like sitting over like this, like just like not minding our own business, and so she like scoops up some and hands it to this lady, and she's like, "Oh, these are terrible. These are so runny. They don't have any flavor." And then the waitress is like, "Well, do you want some?" And she's like, "Yeah, get some." It's like what the like that's yeah, this is a steaming pile of shit. Please. I would love to have some more. I don't know. And then like we just left, but I was just like this is wild. And she then talked about like I got so hot and like in my car while I was sleeping. I was in my sports bra. I take my shirt off. I was in my sports bra and in the parking lot, and it's just like hell yeah, dude. This is the Waffle House experience. And I always like forget that like Waffle House is more of a southern thing. Like there's people in the United States that like don't know what Waffle House is, and I guess it's like because there's one like every 5 miles where we are, where it's just like you just sort of take it for granted. But I always thought growing up that Waffle House was like for poor people because we were poor. My dad loved it, and it's like oh you can get this really good meal, this like home style like breakfast or whatever any time of the day, and anytime we would travel somewhere in a little Honda Accord, fucking driving out west, like every meal, every day, every stop was Waffle House. But then it wasn't until I got older and started paying for my own meals that I realized that Waffle House is not cheap, like at all. But it sort of is like plays a trick on your mind because like you have this assumption of like okay like Waffle House it's for poor people, and like you see the clientele that typically frequents a Waffle House. And again, I'm not saying anything disparaging. It's like whatever, um but like it's not cheap, like not cheap at all. I mean most food's not cheap, but you understand what I'm saying. um if you could live in any fictional universe, where would you go and who would you be? I would be Batman, and I would live in Gotham because that means I would be fit. I'd be super strong. I'd be super rich. I could beat up people and not feel guilty about it. What was the last thing that you purchased? Comic books. It's Wednesday. It's new comic book day. So I went to the store and bought comic books. I didn't buy too many. Sort of a light week. What shitty, useless superpower would you like to have? I would like to be able to snap my fingers and instantly be full from a meal without actually having to eat, but like get the required nutrients that my body has. I'm basically saying I would like to just never eat again. As each day passes as an adult, trying to figure out what I want for dinner, what I want for lunch. Do I want to eat breakfast? Where do we go? Should we cook? It's becoming too much. I'm 35 and I'm tired of making these choices. And it's not just like when you make a grocery list, you just like forget everything that you've ever eaten in the history of your life and what you like. And it's like the things that I like, I don't want to make. I like chicken tenders, but like I don't want to buy frozen ones and eat those. Like I want someone to make hand breaded chicken tenders for me. What it boils down to is I'm lazy and I don't want to cook. And Christina doesn't want to cook. We want someone to cook for us. Come cook for us, please. Um, what historical astronomical event would you like to go back in time and watch as a fly on the wall? The beginning of human civilization. So that way we could solve that problem immediately. But like then like if you know, do I get to come back? Like if I find out, do I then get into the time machine and come back to 2025 and be like, "Hey guys, I know how it all happened." But then like no one's going to believe you. But I would know. Like I would know. And that's all that matters is that I know. What movie or book kept you up and thinking after you watched it slash read it? I'm gonna add video games to that because I can speak in a more descriptive way with video games because as a 35-year-old man, I don't read books as much as I should. Read lots of comic books, but I oftentimes will buy months worth of books and then I have them, in a stack, and I'll read that like in succession, like one issues 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I will determine do I want to keep going with this or am I done with this title and I move on to something else. Just because like I read so many comic books that I oftentimes forget what I'm like. What happened in Absolute Batman #2? Like I don't remember. And then like I'll have to like flip through it real quick. I don't know if it's a sign of getting old or what, but like every time I sit down to read, I'm always like, I'll go back to the old issue and like flip through it real quick, and like it jogs my memory. Like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. I do not read like actual books as much as I should because I just don't have the time. Um, I say that I could probably make time. Christina reads books like crazy. I think she's already read like 7 in like 15 days. Um, but that's like her hobby. I do other things. I watch more TV shows than I do movies. But the one that immediately jumped out was like Shutter Island, and I know that's like a really old movie, but I remember watching it in the theater and like sitting in my seat and being like, "What the fuck just happened?" Because if you haven't seen it, spoilers for an almost 20-year-old movie. At the very end, you don't know whether he's telling the truth and he's like been trapped in this on this island, or like it's all a fantasy in his head, and so like really trippy shit. So and even if after a rewatch, I was like trying to pick up subtle things that I had missed, and I still don't know. Like I never read the book, so I don't know what the actual ending is, but I just go based off what the movie is. Um, but there's like three. This sort of like stems into like a branching part of this conversation, but there's three games that like I always sort of like recommend to people who want something that's like different or like off the beaten path of like what like what is this like I also like I prefer video games too. Like when you like if I have 2 hours at night, like that's what I want to do. Sometimes I have a hard time like just like sitting on the couch because like I'll fall asleep even if I'm like super into something. Like I'll fall asleep during a show. Hell, I like fell asleep the other night in bed reading a comic book, and I was just like, you know. Um, but I think Inscription's one of those games where it's just like weird, and like if you go in completely blind it will surprise you in a lot of ways, and I like the twists that it sort of takes, like especially if you don't know anything, like it's been out for like 4 or 5 years at this point, so it's if you know anything about it you understand like it's a card game, but it's not like really a card game. um Control is another one of those that like I adore that game so much, and it's the perfect amount of like uneasy. It's not horror and it's not like scary, but like it's just like uneasiness the whole time. But like it has that hook where it constantly is like trying to get you to progress further to see like what's going on in the oldest house, like like how does this all connect, like what's going on, like how, and then you start to learn like it's all connected to Alan Wake and Max Payne and all these other things. So but I think it's like, I'm not saying it's like perfectly made, but it's like the perfect video game sort of deal. um I always like to like recommend Returnal because like as much as I played Returnal, I don't like the ending is so open ended that like you don't know like was any of it real? Was it all like was it a hallucination? Was she on a different planet? Like you don't know. And then Arcane Studios Prey 2016. I adore that game immensely. I'll never forgive Microsoft for shutting down that studio to because they wanted to make a shitty Games as a Service vampire game. Um, and it's nice to see here recently, at least in the last year or so, how that game is finally getting its flowers for how fucking great it is. Um, and it's a slow burn. It's a real slow burn, and like sometimes I'm like it's too slow, but like that was the one game where like I was wrong at the beginning. Like I played the demo, and I was like I don't like this. Like I don't like this. And then like just on a whim, like I got it and just got got its hooks in me, and the like true like immersive sim of it all where you are sort of on your own to do whatever you want to do. There's like three endings. Like you can end the game really early by like finding this path that's kind of like secret but like not really. The twist at the end I enjoyed. I understand it was rushed, but the the revealing factor of it all, you're like, oh shit, like this all makes like sense, so I it's unfortunate that there's not enough of those that just like get your brain thinking, and I think a lot of it is because I'm always trying to like when I'm watching something I'm like, okay, like I have a hard time just like sitting there and like taking it in. You know what I mean? Don't isolate that. I have a hard time like watching the thing and like sort of like appreciating it and just like going on the journey with it. I've done that with some things and I'm trying to get better at it, but like I'm always just like, okay, like, this character is going to go here, or like, oh, I bet that's going to be his mother. Like, it's just the way my brain works. I can't shut it off. Um, who is your favorite food mascot, and what mascots would have, oh my gosh, and what food mascots would have been the best professional wrestlers? My favorite food mascot, oh my God. I don't know if I have a favorite. Off the top of my head, like Chester Cheetah. I don't know. He seems kind of cool. He seems like super '90s vibe, like But I feel like he was like a big burnout, like a big stoner. Um, the best wrestler would probably be like Julius Pringle. Like he seems real dastardly. Like he seems like he'd be a really good heel. He'd always be using like brass knuckles and pulling your tights and shit. Um, the Noid. The Noid just looks like someone who's like super into like death matches and stuff and like flaming tables and tacks and barbed wire bats and shit. Um, Snap, crackle, and pop, right? They could do like a birds of war thing, so like three's a crowd, but like I just feel like they're not gonna be very formidable. But like they could be like a group of like a trio of jobbers. Like you send them out there for the Noid to just destroy. Um, I feel like the Pillsbury Doughboy would be just like a real like glutton for punishment, like a Cactus Jack, someone who just like takes a beating all the time, but still just somehow manages to like pull it out at the end. That'd be really cool, like an actual like fighting game, but like in a wrestling scenario, but it's all like mascots and stuff, but then you have to deal with like IPs and licenses and legality and like how violent can it get? Well, this is for kids, and it's just like, yeah, fuck the kids, they don't need to play this shit. Um, if you were a kitchen appliance, what would you be and why? It'd be a blender. Be a fucking blender. Sharp. And I can cut you. And at the end of the day, I make you a delicious beverage. I run out of room. Sorry. Um, if dogs didn't exist, because dogs are the best, what animal would be your go-to pet? Oh, mm-mm-mm. Does it have to be a domestic pet, or is it something that I can make a domestic pet? I feel like it'd be rad as shit to own a red panda because they're small enough, right? They're small enough, they're cute, and I feel like it would be kind of like having a cat. I feel like it would be kind of like having a cat. I'm not a big fan of animals that go to the bathroom in your house. So like, can I let my red panda outside in the backyard and he like does his thing and then he like comes back inside and like climbs on shit? But then like it'd be like having a monkey, right? I just feel like I feel like you could train a red panda. Red panda. It's 100% a red panda because they're cute as fuck. What is something that you absolutely what is something that you absolutely love about your wife? Those big old personalities. What is more realistic in the real world? Vampires, werewolves, or zombies? Um, like what kind of zombie? My first thought is vampires. I feel like there's enough ways and there's different types of vampires, but if you're going traditional, I think we talked about this on a Halloween episode a couple years ago, but I feel like a vampire it has the most plausible and versatile way of staying alive. Huh? Like the Bee Gees. Um, whereas like there's like very specific things with a werewolf. Like it has to be a full moon and like, certain day of the week or whatever the fuck. But I feel like you could also you can blend in if you're a vampire where like if you're a big old hairy werewolf, like someone's just gonna think you're Bigfoot or just like a giant rabid dog and they're gonna put you down. But like as a vampire, you could live amongst people. I feel like you know what I mean? And maybe they do. Zombies are plausible in an like end of the world scenario in the same vein as like I Am Legend, where like we take the measles virus and use it to fight cancer and then like it just like mutates. But then like in the movie I Am Legend, are they zombies or are they like mutants? You know what I mean? Like what's because typically a zombie is undead, whereas like these were people that were alive and just mutated. They were vampires. The answer is vampires. How is pink lemonade made? My daughter asked me this, and I did not have the answer. So what I'm going to do is I was just like, I don't know. It's probably just like regular lemonade. But then it's like, well, it tastes different. Does it? Does it taste different? I don't know. Let's look. Is This is thrilling stuff. Uh, okay. So, pink lemonade is typically made by adding a pink colored fruit juice like cranberry juice to a traditional lemonade base, giving it a distinctive color while maintaining a tart flavor. The most common way to achieve the pink hue is by incorporating cranberry juice, off sometimes raspberry puree, strawberry juice, and other small amounts of a grenadine syrup. So there's no such thing as pink lemons is basically what the point is. Um, but then there's like strawberry lemonade, but like strawberry lemonade is not pink lemonade, but pink lemonade is just regular lemonade. I thought it was food coloring. To be honest with you, I thought it was food coloring. Learn something new every day. What's the weirdest thing you've Googled? How to make pink lemonade or how is pink lemonade made? Um, I wanna know if you went back in time to the first episode of the pod, would you have ever thought that it would have made it this long? Absolutely not. No fucking way. No, no chance in hell that I think it would get to 289 episodes. I didn't think it'd get to 89 episodes. I didn't think it'd get to 50 episodes. And that's not we've talked about it before, but it's not a slight on Jacob, perhaps, like so much as it's hard. It's hard. I think in a way, the podcast not peaked. I mean, it absolutely peaked in listeners and like popularity and just like COVID was a weird time. COVID was a weird time. Everybody started a podcast. Everybody had a podcast. It was all these things. But when we started it, like the whole thing is, I worked with Jacob and I found him extremely interesting. Now that has changed over time. I still find him interesting, but like that honeymoon phase of like, man, this guy's like, this dude is weird. Like this dude is weird. Like I'm gravitating towards this guy because he's like this enigma. He has this. Now I don't know if it's I'm just used to it. If it's like that like married couple thing where like I'm I I'm the edges aren't as sharp anymore. So it's just like, yeah, okay, I get it. Ha ha. You want to stick that up your ass? Okay, cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, the reaction and the shock factor is not there anymore. I mean, Jacob's one of my best friends. He is my best friend. So, but it's like, it's different. I mean, when we've been friends for fucking 7, 8 years at this point, but I tried so long. And thinking back on it now, it's very funny because he's very like introverted and trying to make friends as an adult is always weird in hindsight because like as a kid you're just like, do you like wrestling? I like wrestling. You like playing video games? I like playing video games. Oh, we're best friends. Like you had, but like as adults it's different because like there's more parameters and more like there's less things you're willing to tolerate over time. Like you get a pass if you've been with friends with somebody for 20 years. You're like, yeah, that guy's that way. But like if you met that person now, would you still be friends with that person? Sort of deal. Um, but I don't know. It's just, I mean, not to put myself over, but a majority of the credit goes to me for being consistent, for doing it every week, for setting a schedule, for finding content, for the times that we get guests. It's just like reaching out and finding someone to break up the monotony of the every week check in. It's like, oh, let's get this person and talk to this person. And obviously a lot of it is skewed towards like my interest in things that I find inherently interesting because the podcast was always something that I wanted it to be. If I started a podcast, I want it to be something that I myself would personally listen to. Um, and so like obviously like it's very self-serving because things that we talk about are often almost always something that I want to talk about or he wants to talk about. But like I was talking at the beginning of this where, he missed like the third episode. Like we did 2 episodes and those first like 20 episodes are rough. Um, and like the longer we've done it, the more comfortable he's gotten in front of a microphone. He's sort of like toned down the weirdness. And I don't know if that's just because of like the ADHD or like the medication or whatever it is, but like I mean, long story short, short story long. No, I absolutely never thought it would get to this point. I never thought like there was like maybe a thought in my mind that's like we're gonna do this, and then like we're eventually gonna stop doing it, and then we'll slowly stop becoming friends. But COVID sort of not forced our hand, but it was just like something that became a weekly check-in of like and then it's still that way. It's still like an hour. It's a check-in. Hey, let's like shoot the shit. Even though like I literally talk to him every day. Every day, whether it's text message, voice message, playing hunt together. I think a hunt is another one that sort of took it to another level too, because like not only were we doing this podcast every week, we're fucking playing Hunt Showdown like every day during lunch. Like the whole COVID work from home thing really sort of just like cemented the friendship and doing this podcast, and you learn more about each other and what you can tolerate. And then I don't know, we work well together. Like the dynamic works really well. It's not two fucking alphas, bro. It's an alpha and a beta. I'm the alpha. He's the beta. You know what I mean? Like, so no, to answer your question, absolutely never in my mind. I thought that I would last longer than he would. Don't isolate that. Um, just because I'm kind of stubborn. And at the end of the day, I'm like, well, he'll drop off, and I'll just do these sort of things where I'll do like an episode where I'm by myself, and then I'll just like find somebody else. Like, and then eventually I would just get tired of all the work that I was having to put in, and then I would quit, like I did the previous two podcasts that I started before this one. Um, I'm chiming in with the horror question as well. Which one of the Universal monsters, Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, Mummy, Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon, or the Wolf Man, do you think you could beat up the easiest? And which one is the hardest? The easiest has got to be the Mummy because you just like unwrap him, right? Like you just unwrap him. Hey, but like what's I don't. I'm gonna feign ignorance here. I don't know what's underneath those bandages. Like, is he held together by the bandages, or is he like the invisible man underneath there? You know what I mean? Because I know there's like certain stories where it's like he's invisible and like he uses the wraps to get, it's like this way you see him. I feel like the Black Lagoon, like if you don't go in the lagoon or you're not near, I've never been near a lagoon in my life. Like I don't even know what's the difference between a lagoon and a swamp and the bayou. Like I don't know what's the difference. What's like the actual scientific difference? Um, the hardest one to defeat, dude. I mean, Frankenstein's monster is going to be like hella strong. But I get well. See, here you go. Now, like Invisible Man and Mummy are two different ones. So, like the Mummy, you just unwrap him, and he's like he has his skeleton. You just kick him over. You're dead. Like fuck you. Give him the DX drop. Suck it. Uh, Probably the Wolf Man because he's gonna be fast. He's gonna bite me. I don't have any silver on me. Wolfman. Wolfman's gonna beat my ass. I could outrun the Frankenstein's monster for sure, but I can't outrun a wolf. Which one of them is your favorite? I mean, I'm always partial to Dracula, right? It's like the vampire. Like, there's more versatility in a vampire, and like Dracula's like king shit. He's like, I'm the fucking guy. Like, look at me. I'm the fucking captain. I'm the man. It's definitely Dracula. But like, I'm not. It's weird though. Like, I'm not a big Universal Monsters guy. Like, it's cool. It's like Godzilla to me. It's very cool in concept, very neat, aesthetically really cool. But like, I finally watched Godzilla minus one, and I'll show you how my brain works. All right, I thought it was part of the problem is everyone like raved about how great minus one was, and it's fine. Like it's fine. But the way my brain works is like the first time you like he gets knocked down. I don't understand how it's possible for him to fucking stand in the water. All right, motherfucker standing in the water, like being all like big and menacing and shit. But then like when he gets knocked down in the water, he goes to the bottom of the ocean. Like he wasn't standing on a platform and he wasn't levitating and he wasn't floating. So like I understand that it's a big giant reptile and he's like fucking shit up. But that suspension of disbelief goes away. If he never falls in the water, it remains. But because the very distinct thing where he's doing the thing and then like when he gets knocked down he literally goes to the bottom of the ocean and it's just like how the fuck was he standing up because his legs aren't that tall. He's got little dinosaur arms, little dinosaur feet. So like it's still fine. Like I thought the movie was fine. um but like Godzilla, back to the point, like Godzilla, like the Universal monsters, I think they're aesthetically really cool. But like I've Transformers, kaijus in general, like I don't dislike them, but I am a person who goes 100%, 110% on things that he likes, and it's just like GI Joe. Like GI Joe has never ever, and Transformers just never ever appealed to me. Masters of the Universe, I think Skeletor is cool as shit. I think he looks fucking cool as hell. I could not give a fuck about Masters of the Universe and He-Man. Like I just don't. So, and I don't know. I would say it's like an 80s thing, but like I love the Ninja Turtles. So, I don't know. You like what you like? Uh, what is the last movie you enjoyed? Question is so hard because I don't know the last movie that I was gonna say enjoyed, and people are gonna laugh because I hate everything. I don't know the last movie that I watched. Like I'm trying to rack my brain and think about the actual if you're talking about like new movies. I guess Godzilla minus one. I watched it during Christmas. So by default, because it's the only thing I can remember, Godzilla minus one. Like I said, I typically watch TV shows more because I feel like you can get more of a story out of it. Most movies that I watch are stuff I've watched before that I have nostalgia for, or I have sort of some sort of sentimental um, connection to. Now, I did watch quite a bit of movies. It was about like March, April of last year because I was trying to get. I watched Predator. I did watch Commando fairly recently, but like I was watching some I watched first Rambo, Predator. I did a whole like Predator rewatch around the time Prey came out, but fuck that, feels like it was 2 years ago. Dude, I can't remember. I can't remember. Movies is like one of the and like I used to think it was always weird, like as a kid when I was growing up, and like my dad would be like, oh, my dad would only watch old movies, and like most parents that I knew wouldn't they didn't go to the theater. Well, I should. I can't remember last time I went to the theater unless it was like a very specific thing. And I always wondered, like, that's weird. Like, just because you have kids doesn't mean you can't go watch movies. But then it's like the only new movies I ever see on a regular basis are like shit that we take Zoe to go see in the theater, right? I didn't go watch Wicked because like I hate musicals, but um, we might go see Sonic this weekend because I've been trying to go see Sonic 3, but like anyways, um, Godzilla minus one, I guess is the answer. If you could only have one drink to drink every day for the rest of your life, what would it be? And it cannot be water. Well, that's bullshit because I love water and I drink water a lot. So I'll go with my second favorite beverage, and that's coffee. But then, man, like I'd get so fucking tired, I'd never be able to sleep. Does I could drink decaf, and there's different types of coffee. But then, like if you do like frappuccinos and lattes and espressos, not espressos. There's no G, espressos. I'd say coffee, but I don't know if coffee and steak is good. I don't really eat a lot of steak, but like, is coffee good with pasta? Yeah, I have a cup of coffee with my pasta. Oh, what is your most unpopular opinion about food? It should be cheaper. I don't know if that's unpopular. It should be like way cheaper. Like I'm talking like so much cheaper. I can't even like fathom how cheap it should be. And I also think that the FDA should have much higher standards than it does because I don't think that the food we eat should be killing us because that is the exact opposite of what food is supposed to do. And all of this goes back to my superpower where I wish I just didn't have to eat it anymore. Um, as every day, it's just like there's recalls on stuff. There's like, oh, don't eat this, don't eat that. And then the older I get, I can't eat certain things because I get like the worst indigestion. So I just feel like the food quality is as great as like some meals can be. By and large, the food quality in this country sucks. It's not great. It's not great. It's probably not going to get any better. Um, if your life had a theme song, what would it be? Oh, like that's a hard one. There's two songs that sort of stand out that at this current moment as of, January 15th, 2025, two songs that really just like you want to know who I am as a person without getting to know me. I can give you two songs that's like that points to like my feelings, and one of them is called "Sleight of Hand" by Parkway Drive. It's not a popular song. It's not something they have, like, to my recollection, have ever played live. It's just something it's buried in the middle of an album, um, and lyrically, it just like speaks to me on how I feel about religion. And then the other one would be Fit for an Autopsy's Warfare because we live in a time where everyone's a fucking politician and everyone is a goddamn expert on everything. Uh, and no one can see what's going on over here because everyone's focused on what's going on over here. And it's very much just like an open your eyes, like this is really what's happening. But I don't want to get too deep into that. Goddamn liberal. Uh, what's the most absurd conspiracy theory that you actually think might be true? I don't know if I can say it. That the everything that happens is a giant fucking work. I don't think that there are very many things. I'm talking on like a larger, grander scale, things it's like, again, without, I'm going to skate around like the political part of it, but that is included in that. I think that everything is very well orchestrated. I think things are released out into news sources very strategically. I think a lot of stuff is done as a distraction. I think that both sides of the political spectrum are more, they have way more in common with themselves than you think. And I think that they probably don't all get along because no one gets along with everybody, but I think it's all a facade, and division benefits both those parties more than a united country. I'm just like sort of like leave it at that. I lost my place. If you were if you were invisible for 24 hours, what is the first thing you would do? Oh, dude. My first thing goes into like something nefarious, like break into a bank and steal all the money. Dude, that is 24 hours. Do I tell anybody? Do I let people know? Like I'm probably gonna commit some crimes. I'm probably gonna commit some crimes. But then if you're invisible and you put gloves on, are those gloves invisible? Because if not, then like your fingerprints are gonna be on there and then you're fucked. Oh, I don't know if I can answer that question. I'm trying to think of a way that I can just end up with a bunch of money and it not come back on me. Um, mm, I don't know. Maybe just sleep. That's boring, right? Because if I can't do something that's going to benefit me in the long run, like I don't want to do it. Like I can't think of any other reason to be invisible. That's kind of a boring answer. You get, oh my God. Um, what is the least amount of money it would take to pay you to eat your own shit? $100 million. Like, that guy ate his own turd. Yeah, but I got $100 million. Who fucking gives a shit? I can wash my mouth out. I don't have to ingest it. I just have to like chew on it. 100 million. $100 million. And I'd do it. And that has to be mine, right? It'd be 500 million if somebody else's. Yeah, Jesus, you can tell this is asked by someone who doesn't live in the United States. You get 21 days to travel anywhere in the world and do anything. What's on the agenda? Gigs, sports, cities, countryside, beaches, snow. What's the perfect wild ass vacation? Well, that doesn't exist. So, because I'm an American and 21 days off is some liberal nonsense. If you ain't working, you ain't trying. I don't know. I think as of like in this current state, like current state of like existence, I get homesick. Not necessarily homesick, but I get a little homesick. I'm a homebody, man. I like being at home, but I like going places. So it's sort of like it's like an internal battle because like almost every vacation outside of Banff when I went to Canada, almost every vacation, my dogs are at home too, and I love my dogs. Um, plus like all my shit's here. You know what I mean? Like I'm comfortable at home. I've worked hard for this house. I love this house. It's why I'll never move. Um, every vacation, sans the one I went to Canada, I was always ready to come home before it was over, despite having a good time. But like I'm like, you plan a trip for 6 days. By the end of the fourth, at least halfway through the fifth, like I'm ready. Like get me home. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go home. So I think I think a good benefit to the 21 days is you're able to move. You're able to go to different locations. You're not stuck in the same place. But I'm really super interested in this, like, doing hockey arenas, man. Like just going, because the thing, I mean, there's a lot of things I like about hockey, but one of the really cool things that I appreciate about hockey is that there are professional teams in cities that otherwise I would never, ever in my life ever think about going to. You know what I mean? Like, as cool as Edmonton is, I would never go to Edmonton. Now I would go back certainly, but on of like the onset, like I would never go. And the trip to Edmonton like is 4 hours away. Like Edmonton's 4 hours from Calgary, or Banff. So like it wasn't a close thing. It was just something that was like, dude, we're here, they're there, let's go. Um, I've always wanted to go to Vancouver. I've always wanted to go to the like West Coast, like Pacific Northwest. And I think just like the idea of like hitting Seattle and then like hitting Vancouver and hitting two hockey arenas like in two like 3 nights, like that'd be dope as fuck. Um, go down California, well, not California right now, but like you know, imagine there's no fire that's engulfing the entire coast, but like you hit Anaheim and then LA and then go down and hit San Jose or some shit. Um, do a Canadian road trip. Shit, fucking start in Vancouver and work your way over. I think that'd be really cool. Go like fly up to like Buffalo. Yeah, let's do that. Let's fly up to Buffalo. Well, no, first let's go to New York City. We'll hit Madison Square Garden. Then we'll go like 25 minutes down the road. We'll go to the Islanders, right? Then we'll take a plane. We'll go up to Buffalo. We'll do that. We'll get some wings. Go see the Sabres get beat. Drive over to Toronto because it's right across the Niagara Falls. We'll do that too. We'll do Niagara Falls. And then we'll hit. So what's next? Then you can hit fucking Quebec. Well, Quebec doesn't really matter because they don't have a team anymore. The Nordiques aren't there. But we'll hit Montreal. And then we'll go hit Winnipeg. And then Ottawa. And then we'll go to Calgary. Go up to Edmonton. Then we'll go Vancouver, down Seattle. And then do we go to Colorado and then go over? Yeah, see, like there you go. Like I just did. There you go. I just did it for you. Boom. Then it's time to come home. But like I got to bring my dogs. These are the things. Like I can't be without my dogs for 21 days. That would fucking kill me. Did I do all these? Hold on. Guilty pleasures and the inverse. I already don't like this question. What's something either in music or a movie that you adore that totally goes against what you typically are into, and vice versa? What's something that you despise that would totally make sense for you to be a fan of? We'll start with the second one. What is something that you despise that would totally make sense for you to be a fan of? Well, that'd be the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I despise it. I hate it. Um, but that's only a recent thing. Music or movies of something that you would be interested. There's a band called The Browning, which is a terrible name, but their music, now I got to be in the mood for it. But when I'm in the mood for it and it hits me, it's like a very synth based, like deathcore adjacent with some like dubstep mixed into it. And again, it's a hard sell, and I don't love it all the time. But like if I'm in a particular mood, because like I don't like dubstep, I do like synth music and electronica music. But again, that's a very specific like I've got to be in the mood for it. You know what I mean? Like very very specific. But I have this. reputation of like I'm just like this gruff. Oh, you only like metal because metal's mean and grr. So it's not typically again like I don't like dubstep, but like it's not something that like I'm like I can listen to a song like it's fine. Um, but I don't have. I understand the phrase. I don't get me wrong. I understand the phrase, but I don't have guilty pleasures because I am not. I am not guilty or ashamed of anything that I like or am interested in. Um, and I don't like the word guilty pleasure. I don't like the phrase guilty pleasure. I got this really long one, so I'm gonna read it, and I don't really. I get it, but I don't get it. Okay, so I don't know how much comic book guys you talk, but here's my favorite if I ran a zoo question. There's a box. There's a box. And if a character is in that box, that character cannot be used at all. Also, this is comic specific. And once a character gets put into said box, the only way to get that character out of the box is when you wait 5 or 10 years, or to have a very specific plan mapped out for that character for a reasonable amount of time. That's a mouthful. It's a very detailed question. The goal of the box is twofold. First, to alleviate the overexposed and used characters from being in every single comic book that needs a villain or a squash match. I already know who all mine are. Second, to make the character in the box feel more important when they finally do get used. So, what are the 5 characters that you would put into the box? The Joker, because I think he's extremely overused in every Batman. And like I get it, but every time they put a new Batman, they put a new writer on Batman, everybody wants to take their stab at providing a new, unique take on the Joker, and I'm tired of it. I don't want it. I don't care about your take. I don't want it. I do get it. And if someone gave me, if DC was like, hey, we're going to give you this fucking bucket of cash, give us your spin on the Joker, you better believe I'm going to do it. But as a reader, I don't want that. You're dealing with Batman and Spider-Man, who have the 2 greatest rogues galleries in of all of comics, and it's always like Joker and fucking Norman Osborn, and it's just like, bruh, we have like a roster of 300 characters. Why are we using the same fucking 3 all the time? But I digress. Joker's number 1. Um, for a personal reason, Harley Quinn, because I fucking hate Harley Quinn. Um, I'm just the overexposure. This is just more of like who I don't want in comics anymore. I have no plans. I just want them gone. Uh, Deadpool. But like the thing with like Harley and Deadpool are so they've just like jumped the shark. They've jumped the shark for me to where if either one of those characters are in a thing, I am instantly disinterested. And like that sucks because like I'm sure I'm missing out on some cool stuff. But I mean like again, Deadpool and Wolverine was fine for me. I don't think it was great. I was very upfront with like I don't it's fine. Like Deadpool's a hard sell for me anyways. Um for those that don't know. But like this idea of like putting Deadpool in every fucking medium and everything is just like it's like that same thing we talked about or I just talked about with like you have 300 Batman villains and you always use the same 10. I get that those are great. Those villains are great. Those 10 villains that we always choose, Bane and Two-Face and Riddler and Joker and Clayface and you know Mr. Freeze and Ra's al Ghul. Like I get it. They're all great. They're great. They're the, you know it's the greatest hits. But there's so many. It's why I love Arkham Origins as much as I do because they went outside of the box with a lot of the villains that you fight. I also think that this it's the best story outside of Asylum, um, because it's concise and to the point. And there's not a lot of meandering. But anyways, I love one of my favorite things about shout out to Jed that he's doing on this on his Moon Knight runs plural that he's been doing is like he pulls these obscure characters out of the Marvel basement. Sometimes they're characters that have been in Moon Knight before, like in 1987, and appeared once. but also like he's pulling characters that aren't being used, and it's just like, well, why don't I just use this guy and I can make a story about this guy? Like, I don't know. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate going outside of the box and doing things that aren't done normally. So we've got Joker, Harley Quinn, Deadpool. I have one that I want to say, but I don't want to say it because then like people might get mad. Um, Captain Marvel is really boring to me. Not just not it has nothing to do with anything other than like she's just kind of boring to me. Um, what would you think? Superman's boring? Yes, yes, I do. As a matter of fact, yes. I'm trying to think outside of the box, but it's just more so about characters. Honestly, I could do without Doom. I think Doctor Doom is cool as shit, but I also think that it is much like Joker, it is a well that is pulled from way too often, and a lot of the emphasis of like how smart Doom is, how menacing Doom is, sort of loses its luster when it's overdone. And the thing I do miss a lot about, and maybe it's just because I'm older, maybe it's because a lot of stuff is overexposed, maybe it's because of the MCU and like things just sort of like lose their like oomph factor. But like I miss when like villains show up in a comic book and you're like, fuck, here comes Mr. Sinister. Oh shit, Omega Red's about to beat Logan's ass. Like I miss that because like it's not that anymore in comic books. And I think it's just because comics are just like saturated. So you've got to find a reason to write a 5 issue series featuring Omega Red and Logan. And I love Omega Red and I love Logan. And it's just like this is great, but like how's this any different than what I read fucking 3 years ago? You know what I mean? But anyways, um Doctor Doom, Joker, Harley Quinn, Deadpool, Iron Man. Just because I don't like Iron Man. Right. Is that everything? Is that all of them? I feel like that's all of them. These are fun to do, but you kind of just like, who am I talking to? Am I yelling into the void? Chiming in, follow-up question. This is great. This is great. I love this. This is so good. So cool. I think that's it. I think that's it. I believe so. Yeah. 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 Yeah.